Welcome to the Black Appalachian Coalition's podcast entitled Black Remembering, where we will bring to you the heavy and the hope across the Ohio River Valley. We want to remember who we are, where we've come from. We want to speak to the oral history of what we've done, what we've achieved. We want to speak to the ills that we have experienced while also finding solutions to those problems, those issues. We want to deal with the narrative that has kept us deeply rooted in despair. Now we want to punch through that narrative and stand up and say, we are remembering our Black past, and we are rooted, and we are here to stay. Welcome to Black Remembering. We hope that you find your place, your space, and your voice in this podcast.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Black Remembering podcast, where we highlight the heavy and the hope. If you have found yourself here, then you are in the right place at the right time. This episode is a part of our Black Alternative series. That's BLAC Alternatives series. Over the next 6 months, any episode that's marked Black Alternatives will cover a myriad of topics that fall under the umbrella of alternative economies. If you didn't catch it, go back to our May 6th episode to understand more about what alternative economies are. For now, please know that alternative economies are ways people exchange goods and services outside of traditional capitalism, focusing on community needs rather than focusing purely on profitability, or rather than prioritizing profitability. It's a system that functions, again, outside of capitalism, prioritizing the people and the community over the dollar sign. This episode of the Black Alternative series welcomes a very honored guest, Ashley C. Smith, the co-founder and COO of Black Soil Kentucky. If you don't already know about Ashley, here's a bit of information. Ashley C. Smith is a Lexington, Kentucky native. In August of 2017, she co-founded Black Soil Kentucky, Our Better Nature, an agribusiness with the mission of reconnecting Black Kentuckians to their heritage and legacy in agriculture. Ashley rebranded the company to Black Soil Kentucky to reflect its broader impact in agriculture regionally, nationally, and globally. Currently, as executive director, Smith leads the one-of-a-kind Black woman-owned agribusiness, which specializes in procurement, sourcing, grant writing, and education for Kentucky Black farmers, chefs, and makers, representing less than 1.4%. Her industry leadership includes the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis Agribusiness Industry Council, Kentucky Black Farmers Conference founding organizer, Kentucky Black Farmer Fund founding member, Team Kentucky Medical Cannabis Work Group, and farming consultant to agriculture coalitions and alliances in Indiana, Tennessee, and Mississippi. Smith holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology from the University of Kentucky, Go Cats. She is the proud mother to fraternal twins, Caroline and Trevor Jr. If you live under a rock and haven't heard of Black Soil Kentucky, you are in for a treat. Thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much, Nita Jade, for having me, for the entire Black community, and organization for supporting the opportunity to be on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. I like to start with a little soul scan check-in, just to get us into the space and grounded. What is your earliest or your favorite dirt or soil related memory?
Working in the garden in the backyard at my parents' house where they still live today. And I remember pokeberries along the fence and being told not to eat them because they were very, you didn't know if they were poisonous or not. So just really experimenting and always putting everything in my mouth, straight from the garden, soil and all. Also, I remember very, very clearly planting a seedling in a styrofoam cup and being so proud of it to give to my mom. And obviously, I'm like maybe in kindergarten, preschool, kindergarten, and I slip on the back porch on these stairs, and up goes the, styrofoam cup seedling in soil, and just being so disappointed because I remembered how hard I worked to like pat it perfectly.
So just being connected from a young age, being connected to, putting tomatoes on the windowsill above the kitchen sink in my parents' house. So I really appreciate the chance to share and reflect some of those early memories.
Thank you. Thinking of I guess how kids around that age get so passionate about, especially like a gift that you're giving someone. I imagine you put in so much work and attention and passion into getting that. And I'm sorry it fell. That's also kind of funny, but I guess in retrospect. Um, so in terms of dirt, I'm from Western North Carolina,
Mhm.
and we have a lot of red clay. And I was one of the hard-headed little kids who like went outside. I was a tomboy. I went outside barefoot. I wasn't supposed to, but I liked how the red clay felt, especially like after it rained and stuff. I liked how it felt on my feet. So that's one of my earlier memories, like several times going outside and just being in the red clay. In terms of soil, my great aunt had the only garden that I've ever like associated with family. She had okra, she had squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, zucchini. I definitely remember the okra though because they were red ants. But she was the first time I ever like got to practice playing with the soil, what the growth process was like, harvesting. She taught me how to make fried green tomatoes. We will put
Mhm.
the tomatoes in the windowsill as well. And till this day, I still value a really good fresh tomato sandwich. Just a tomato and salt and pepper on it.
Yes,
So yeah, thank you for indulging me on that.
absolutely. And then also like the little slits underneath your toes from the blades of grass,
Yeah, yeah.
playing barefoot outside in the backyard. So, yeah.
It's necessary. There's like a term for it now too. It's maybe sunning, maybe grounding, one of the two, but like just the concept of going outside and like standing in the
Mhm.
grass, in the dirt, and letting the sun wash over you. Like
Yes.
we did that naturally growing up, and now it's something that we have to do intentionally, but it's really healthy. So
Yes.
we met in 2018 during my creative community internship under Crystal Wilkinson at Wild Fit Books and Coffee, which means that Black Soil had just started the year prior. The growth from then when I was a little fetus to now is just ridiculous, and it is ridiculous in the best way possible. Like it's been an honor to witness. I'd love to hear more about your journey and your story, as well as Black Soil Kentucky's story and journey.
Absolutely. So funny. I had a meeting with the person who recruited me in agriculture. This time 8 years ago, I was starting to make my transition from working at the Lyric Theater to a 501(c)(3) land use advocacy nonprofit. And there I spent a lot of hours at City Hall. I did not find myself or seeing myself as an adult working in agriculture. I didn't work in 4-H or FFA as a young adult or child or young adult. So jumping from the arts and the very specific work of the lyric into attending city hall meetings and just really seeing like, wow, there's so much opportunity to directly speak to those who are overlooked but are right in front of your face. So Black Soil, that was really the spark. Our co-founder, I believe, has been interviewed by this podcast, or at least the organization, about his journey. But Farmer Brown, the MC, had been already doing work for about 5 years in the community through community gardens, and we paired up. I focused on the event planning and management, and Trevor was focusing on the youth engagement, and he still obviously to this day does that. And then the first three farm tours were at Barber's Farm, where four of the seven siblings have returned to the Hart County based diversified homestead where the family at one point in time were sharecroppers and they purchased the land from the tenant farmer. We practiced the farm tour approach and strategy from 2017 until 2020 until the pandemic came about. And we were really self-taught because we'd been working in Black Soil had been working in moving rural-based farm products within rural communities through the farm to table dinners at the farm tours. And then we had started to expand out and do farm to table dinners in Lexington, Louisville, Cincinnati, Nashville. And then the pandemic happened. And it was like, oh, wow, I never really thought about like, if I can't do an in-person gathering, then what does Black Soil focus on? What does it become? What does it look like? And after 2 weeks of just kind of groveling and trying to figure it out, it was let's move the rural farm product through Lexington, through Louisville, share it up, bag it up, assemble it, bring together multiple farm products, work within people's strengths, work within people's opportunities for growth of, hey, maybe right now is not the best time to try to expand and scale up, but we know that you're solid, reliable, and consistent in this way. So that's where I really bring the sociology to agriculture. Many ways, I'm like an agricultural sociologist. We speak and work with each farm in its own unique, one of a kind way. There's no one box fits all approach. It really is understanding that our farmers and our Black consumers have compassion and empathy fatigue. We are asked to overstretch ourselves in giving, 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 and oftentimes there's no reciprocity. So Black soil really at the core is about helping both sides of the field, no pun intended, to be able to see each other, be able to connect. And we've done that through gathering on their farms with the farm tours and then bringing their products and their lived experiences through events across Lexington, Louisville, statewide. And we really have a knack for the aggregation and distribution. We run training institutes. We have stores where we are able to be a catch-all. But honestly, as we progress, like we become less and less of a farmer's portfolio because their market share is grown. And then we're able to then expand out even further how we're working with folks. So yes, we met over the love of Bell Hooks and the love of Crystal Wilkinson, the love of Wild Fig, but coffee and books. And now 8 years later, we're really excited to keep the main thing, cooperative economics, collective responsibility, self-sufficiency, interdependence, being able to see an organic community blossom and grow from this work since its inception. I would love to just continue seeing how the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years progress on.
What is your relationship with the land and the earth? And why and how did agriculture find you or you find it?
I think it was both. Black soil was definitely an investment that was a calling that I literally had a vision gathering folks together because again, like I became hungry for solution-based approach of like these Black farmers exist, they're real, and the reasons why they're being blocked and obstructed are really petty. Oh, we don't know where their product comes from. We think they're dirty. People told on themselves time and time again about their complicit, implicit, deliberate bias. There's so much bias when we ask the question if Mother Nature can't see who puts the seed in the ground, then why do we have such enormous disparities in agriculture? So, again, that's really what we work to ask and solve and hold a mirror up of like, how can we find all of these people to work with? You've got PhDs, you've got masters, you brag about multiple generations in the industry. And we could have worked together in the very beginning, but folks really tried to ostracize. So we just kept it moving. So the work of Black Soil found me because I saw a need that allowed me to be a part of the solution, not the solution. You know, we're one aspect of the greater good on behalf of the goodwill for Black farmers who are essential to our survival living in Lexington, Louisville, Hopkinsville. We're essential to their survival. So again, we're bridge makers and connectors in that way. So we found each other. Agriculture found me in Wanderlust, you know, the career purgatory of being a 2008 college graduate who survived many recessions and financial crises to come into my own sphere of influence that allows me to work full time for myself, have a staff. That's a life of service that I'm able to receive some of the rewards and benefits here on this side of Earth.
1.4% is crazy. And also using the language of dirty in the year of our Lord 2025 is also crazy. Not
2017, 2017. This is
2017.
2017, 2018, 2019, 2020.
Mm.
2020 came through and they were like, oh, have you just gotten here? We know you've been saying this whole time. And what's crazy, Nita Jade. 1.4 was the 2012 number. Okay, 2017, 2012. Those were the numbers for the 1.4% of our overall Black producers here in the state of Kentucky. The 2022 census showed we fell from 1.4% to 0.7%. But let me tell you something, in the middle of the decline, the determination pushed us over the finish line, and we finished in first place in regards to the increase of farmers being able to recoup, receive their return on their investment wholly. So their product valuation in the market, exactly what we asked the question. Like, we solved the question. If y'all quit playing games, the disparities go away. And we've been able to prove that by simply allowing Black farmers to take the leadership role in which they are functioned and designed to do. We have been able to prove that they're more than capable. It wouldn't be in USDA if there weren't Black farmers, because they co-opted all of the practices, techniques, methodologies that were utilized through the forced chattel labor of institutionalized enslavement. So to go from last place in 2017, having dirt thrown on their name, but what does the Gloria Hallelujah say? The what do you throw the dirt, try to use the shovel to throw dirt on my name, but you got shocked by it when you were trying to throw it on me. But anyways, we'll come back to that sermon talking point in a minute. But to go from last place, counted out, minimized, dirt thrown on your name, reputation, Black farmers are this, that, just disparaging. These are people who have to talk to farmers for a living. So they know their deliberate language that they're using when referring. There's no breath that can be spoken, used to try to deliberately angle negative talk towards our Black farmers in the state of Kentucky, because we've proven that if you want to be a merit-based society, we've shown you what meritocracy is. Do you hear me? We went from last place to first place in the valuation. So the value of the Black farmer was never lost on us. It was lost on everyone else. We saw it from the beginning. It's like being a talent scout. It's like running a campaign for a Barack Obama 08, when the hope posters and everything, like, we're running multiple campaigns for these stellar superstars. And they've gone from obsolete, doubted to household names to sought after brands. We did that in 5 years. So the last 2 years, I'm not saying I've been coasting. I've been refining, because so much of the heavy lifting of, see, I told you so, has been laid out. But that feat to statistically change the measuring stick, not a lot of folks can say that. And that was a lot of sweat equity as well as financial equity. So we don't charge. There have been times we have invoiced farmers for services, things that we have perpetuated, websites, marketing campaigns to get them to a certain threshold. But overall, our technical assistance is wrapped into our relationship, and we're constantly coaching and teaching and walking alongside.
I remember this might have been maybe 2021, but while house sitting for some mentors, they asked me to go like be on the lookout for a box delivery. And I think something happened to where like I went and ended up picking it up, but I got to walk in and see what the process was of the deliveries. So I wanted to ask, is that box delivery service, is that a part of the agritourism? Is that a part of Sprout Mobile? If not, what are those two? What are the differences?
Awesome. So the deliveries that you received while house sitting were a part of our weekly farm share program. That allowed Black Soil to really manage our own kind of standalone community supported or shared agriculture. So we would gather funds in the beginning of the season, work in paying out the appropriate aggregators and growers, and then we'd gather everything and bundle and make different levels of those shares. So we've turned all of the referrals functions of a weekly farm share program back to the farmers, who we held the each end of the stick for about 3 years and running our own program. So that allowed us to get into multiple institutions for procurement opportunities that broke barriers for our Black farmers in the state of Kentucky. The Sprout Mobile Pharmacy Market will pull up on you at an event, festival, a recurring visit to like a school, a faith community, a public park. And then there you will have a grab bag, a 5, a 10, or a $20 grab bag, depending on how many folks you're wanting to serve in your household. So our doorstep delivery right now is paused because we really want to tighten and get that in-person retail experience, whether it be the truck or the 2 brick and mortar retail locations, the neighborhood pharmacy markets. So the pharmacy markets, food is medicine, right? So there's 2 components. You can come into it in the neighborhood, or you can find us at the mobile. But in either one, we have an expectation that you walk away being ready and excited to eat local year round. It gives you a chance to experience the diversity of how many different ways agriculture shows up. And again, mind you, I had to make agriculture make sense to me because when I left the lyric, I had to learn a whole different language of a very singular, focused grouping that had been working for the past 100 years to retell a story that wasn't theirs to tell. They had robbed the voice, like Ursula did Ariel, robbed her voice, and then claimed that that voice was theirs to be credited. So again, we've just really tried to work to take that voice back. It was never stripped. It was the volume was turned down, and we just put that loud speaker, that loud mic up to the Black farmer's mouth. They've been talking the whole time.
The whole time. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that metaphor.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling us about your education and outreach program, specifically the Heal Over a Meal and any other outreach programs that our audience could get involved in?
Okay, great. Well, we want to be able to welcome folks to the next Heal Over Meal. It's happening during State of the Soil. And that was a program that we held monthly at a local art nonprofit venue. We brought in Nourish You Nutrition. We brought in a sleep lab with Dr. Lauren Whitehurst, and then a rotation of different mental health professionals like Dr. Lauren Downey with TIC, Trauma Informed Counseling Center. And then we would gather all around with a beautiful fresh meal, and it was like a dine and learn. And so it was really topical, really focused on mental health, healthy eating, but doing it through a culturally competent lens. And so there on site, the meal was prepared. We had like a small cooking demo, and it was really there to add in different skills that people could sustain themselves. That was a really great experience. So we're going to bring it back during State of the Soil on Tuesday, September 9th. And that's really going to be focused on our farmer health and wellness. In our community, because we're not big commodity or monocropping or growing one item, we don't have these large grain bins that when you're driving down the highway, you see like these big aluminum cylinders. There's an alarming rate of farmers in rural communities who perish by getting trapped in those and having like corn grains dumped on them. We're not getting crushed under suffocating corn grains. We're getting crushed under the unspoken and unspoken bias, blackballing, people turning their shoulders. But again, in spite of all of that, we've really opened up and broadened what opportunity looks like and how we're already at your fingertip. You are the opportunity. So Heal Over a Meal is just to remind our farmers in attendance of different techniques, handles, different ways to receive advice and expertise from local experts around how to care for themselves. Because as they care for us, right, what do they say when you fly in a plane? Like, put your oxygen mask on first. So that's a lot of the work we do as well around our approach with our farmer mental health. Put your mask on first. If you're not well, then no one else is well. And they serve as such a thermometer, a pulse keeper, a tempo bearer to our community. So we, again, on the consuming public side, we owe it to them just like they owe it to us. So that consistent reciprocity is vital.
I'm never going to look at a grain silo again the same. Thank you for that. But I think it's really easy to get caught up in the technicalities and finances and bureaucracy of running anything, having any organization, running any business. But the fact that y'all pour into these Black farmers, I think is aside from adoring you, like as a person, like that's what I adore about Black Soil Kentucky the most. And you actually read my mind. Would you mind telling us a bit more about State of the Soil on
Mhm.
September 9th and any other events that Black Soil Kentucky has coming up?
So, in addition to State of the Soil, which really focuses on training our practitioners by getting them face to face with leaders in their sector. So, attracting them, one, to Kentucky. Last year, we had folks from 17 states: Arkansas, California, Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, Canada, DC. This year, we're hoping for, we're working towards 25 states being represented who want to seek out the Kentucky Black lived experience. Once you overcome the barrier and the fear of coming to Kentucky, it's really lit over here. Like, we've carved out a nice ecosystem that's like a biodome. We're not walking around blind to what's happening, but as things are happening, we're choosing to be present and purposeful. And so, in order for our overall industry to be successful, we want to showcase the triumphant spirit of overcoming and determination that these farmers, like the Millers, like Coleman Crest Farm, like Cleveland Market, and our amazing lineup of speakers that'll do like mini TED Talk like presentations to get us filled up, from if you are a producer or all the way to you want to host festivals on your land, you want to host retreats on your land, you want to bring people around the land, and what type of reconciliation and restoration can take place. We have Black Soul KY Week happening in August. And then Youth Ag Day was rescheduled due to an emergency that was out of our control. And so that's happening Saturday, July 19th. What we do is we upload our events on our website, blacksoilky.com. If you're interested in volunteering, events at blacksoilky.com to request available shifts. Sometimes we get really large orders in, so having some extra hands to get them out and distributed. Working alongside farmers in our Western Kentucky corridor through Hopkinsville, Caldwell County, Princeton. I think that is Caldwell County. I get all of them mixed up, but we'll be down in Trigg County, Paducah for 8th of August, working in those festivals to serve 100 to 150 families. This is a great opportunity for all of us to be able to experience what it means to eat local year round and test and try how our Black farmers in the state are true to this, not new to this. Folks are out here growing leaps and bounds above and beyond. Collaborators, we don't have competition. There's so much opportunity for abundance. There is no room for scarcity in local ag. We've got to link up, because right now there are folks flailing because a contract was frozen, cut, or terminated. They perhaps did not have a pipeline of strategy built up. And so that's what we're looking for right now, are those chains, those links in the chain that need to be strengthened. So we're seeking farmers to join us during State of the Soil, September 7th through the 10th. We're looking for families to come out during Black Soul KY Week and celebrate 8 years of our mission and vision. And then Saturday, July 19th, coming out to Omega Star Hobby Farm in Lincoln County to have a full day of free food, activities, and most importantly, being a farmer for the farmer of the day, farmer for the day. You will be starting several garden beds there at the farm using a diversity of techniques. And that's free and open to the public. And we do provide a gas card for that. So really looking forward to folks visiting our website, our social media, Black Soil, Our Better Nature, and Black Soul KY just really again embodies what it looked like when I expanded my time, effort, and energy to a full-time status with Black Soil. I mean, that became a reality in 2019. I had spent nights and weekends working August 2017 to December 2019. And so, yep, coming on 6 years of full-time leading this organization. And I couldn't be more thrilled. It's the longest job that I've ever had. So I always said to myself, if I can work hard for other people, I can work 10 times harder for myself. So that's a commitment,
Ooh,
I promise.
that's a whole word right there.
Hmm.
I see how much you and Black Soul Kentucky have expanded over the years. And as you're talking, all the different states and folks that have come in,
Hmm.
I'm seeing Black Soil outside of Kentucky, seeing Black Soil North Carolina, Black Soil Appalachia, all across 13 states across the South. And I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see you come
Yes.
into that. So here's the final question of the day. Would you leave our audience with a little nugget of wisdom?
Regardless of where you find yourself, if you're content, pleased with the intersection you find yourself in your life, being able to build up who you are in every season, not making over promising and under delivering, but what are you willing to do for yourself? How are you willing to show up for yourself, even when things aren't exactly how you thought they were going to go, exactly how that pivot was supposed to redirect, and perhaps you still found yourself on the same path? Really believe in yourself, because if you can commit to serving others, giving of yourself for others, you're worthy and designed to have that self-love poured in, and really focus on what makes you unique and one of a kind. And then from there, really working to build out that blueprint for your forever.
Thank you. That's a whole visionary practice right there, like visualizing what your forever looks like and mapping out that blueprint. Thank you so much. We'll be sure to link the events page, to link Black Soul Kentucky's website and all social media handles in our show notes. Thank you infinitely for joining us, Ashley.
Thank you, Nita Jade. Thank you, Black. I definitely want to give Black a huge shout out for the work you're doing across the region. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. If you enjoyed listening to today's episode or found it helpful at all, please leave a comment, share the good news about alternative economies with your loved ones, and stay tuned for our next Black Remembering podcast episode. Feel free to email me at nitajade@blackappalachiancoalition.org to connect. Until next time, peace and blessings, y'all.